The year was 2157, and the United Earth Space Force, UESF, had established outposts on Mars, Europa, and even in the asteroid belt. But it was the newly commissioned starship, the UES Horizon, that would make history. Captain Elara Chen stood on the bridge of the Horizon, her dark eyes scanning the holographic displays that surrounded her. At 35, she was one of the youngest captains in the UESF, known for her quick thinking and unorthodox problem-solving skills. Her diverse crew, gathered from all corners of Earth, represented the best humanity had to offer. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Marcus Okafor, the ship's sensor officer. "We're picking up an anomalous energy signature at the edge of the Kuiper belt." Chen raised an eyebrow. "Can you identify it, Lieutenant?" Okafor's fingers danced across his console. "Negative, Captain. It's unlike anything in our database. But it's massive and it's moving." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. First Officer David Reeves, a seasoned veteran with graying temples, voiced what everyone was thinking. "Alien spacecraft." Chen nodded slowly. "It seems our first contact might be coming sooner than we expected. All hands to stations. Let's make humanity proud." As the Horizon approached the anomaly, the true scale of the alien vessel became apparent. It dwarfed the human ship, its sleek, crystalline structure defying known engineering principles. It seemed to shimmer and shift, as if not fully anchored in reality. "Open a channel," Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "Let's see if they're in a talking mood." For several tense minutes, there was no response. Then suddenly, the bridge was bathed in a soft, purple light. A holographic figure materialized before them, tall, ethereal, with skin that seemed to ripple like water and eyes that held the depth of galaxies. "Greetings, humans," the being spoke, its voice resonating not through the air, but directly in their minds. "I am Zarful, emissary of the Zephyrian Collective. We have long observed your species and deemed this the appropriate time for introduction." Captain Chen stepped forward, her posture straight and confident. "I am Captain Elara Chen of the United Earth Space Force. On behalf of humanity, we welcome you and look forward to peaceful exchange." Zarful's expression remained impassive, but there was a hint of curiosity in those cosmic eyes. "Your species intrigues us, Captain Chen. You are young, volatile, yet filled with a potential we have rarely encountered. We wish to learn more." As the initial shock wore off, the crew of the Horizon found themselves engaged in a surreal dialogue with the Zephyrian emissary. They learned that the Zephyrians were an ancient race, having achieved interstellar travel millennia ago. They had watched humanity's progress from afar, debating whether to make contact. "Your emotions," Zarful mused, its form shimmering slightly. "They are intense, unpredictable. We find them fascinating, if somewhat alarming." Chen exchanged a glance with Reeves. "Our emotions are an integral part of who we are," she explained. "They drive us to create, to explore, to connect." The aliens seemed to ponder this. Connection. This concept is not unfamiliar to us, but the way you experience it is unique. "We would like to propose an exchange, Captain Chen. Allow a delegation of our kind to visit your Earth, and in return, we shall share with you the secrets of faster-than-light travel." The offer was tantalizing, but Chen knew the decision was beyond her authority. "I'll need to consult with my superiors," she said diplomatically, "but I believe this could be the beginning of a remarkable partnership." As the communication ended and the purple light faded, the bridge erupted into excited chatter. Humanity had made first contact, and the universe had suddenly become a much larger, more wondrous place. Chen sat in her captain's chair, her mind racing with the implications. The Zephyrians' offer of advanced technology was a game-changer, but their fascination with human emotions hinted at deeper differences between their species. She couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would change the course of human history forever. "Send a message to Earth Command," she instructed Reeves. "Priority 1. Tell them everything's about to change." As the horizon maintained its position near the massive Zephyrian vessel, Chen gazed out at the stars. For the first time, they didn't seem cold and distant, but full of possibility and life. Humanity had taken its first step into a larger universe, and she, Ilara Chen, had been there to witness it. Little did she know that this encounter would not only reshape humanity's future, but would also challenge the very foundations of Zephyrian society. The dance between these two vastly different species was about to begin, with consequences that would ripple across the galaxy. The news of first contact spread across Earth like wildfire. Within days, the world's leaders had convened an emergency session of the United Nations to discuss the Zephyrian proposal. After heated debates and careful consideration, they agreed to allow a small Zephyrian delegation to visit Earth under strict protocols. Captain Ilara Chen found herself at the heart of these historic events. The Horizon had been chosen to escort the Zephyrian envoys to Earth, and Chen would serve as the primary liaison. As she prepared for the arrival of the alien delegates, she couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and apprehension. The Zephyrian shuttle that docked with the Horizon was a marvel of engineering, its crystalline structure seeming to bend light around it. 3 Zephyrians emerged, led by Zarthol. Up close, their otherworldly beauty was even more apparent. Their bodies seemed to flow like liquid mercury, and their eyes held swirling galaxies within. "Welcome aboard the Horizon," Chen greeted them, maintaining her composure despite her awe. "We're honored to escort you to Earth." Zarthol inclined its head in acknowledgement. "The honor is ours, Captain Chen. We look forward to experiencing your world firsthand." As the Horizon began its journey back to Earth, Chen took it upon herself to introduce the Zephyrians to human culture. She organized tours of the ship, arranged for them to sample Earth cuisine, replicated but still impressive, and encouraged her crew to interact with the visitors. It was during one of these interactions that the true depth of the cultural divide became apparent. Lieutenant Sarah Wong, the ship's exobiologist, was explaining the concept of music to the Zephyrians in the ship's lounge. "Music is, well, it's a way we express emotions through sound," Wong explained, her enthusiasm evident. "Here, let me show you." She cooed up a classical piece, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. As the powerful notes filled the air, the humans in the room instinctively closed their eyes, letting the music wash over them. The Zephyrians, however, looked utterly perplexed. "We perceive the sound waves," one of them, named Vexilla, said, "but we do not understand the purpose. How does this convey emotion?" Wong tried to explain the feelings the music evoked: joy, triumph, a sense of unity. But the Zephyrians struggled to grasp these concepts. Zarthol turned to Chen, its cosmic eyes swirling with confusion. "Captain, we have observed that humans often engage in activities that seem to serve no practical purpose. Yet, you derive great satisfaction from them. Why is this?" Chen considered the question carefully. "Not everything we do is about survival or advancement," she explained. "Sometimes we do things simply because they bring us joy, or help us connect with others, or express something within ourselves that can't be put into words." The Zephyrians exchanged looks of bewilderment. "This is inefficient," Zarthol stated. "Yet, it seems to be a fundamental aspect of your species. Fascinating." As the journey continued, more such cultural clashes occurred. The Zephyrians were baffled by human literature, struggling to understand why humans would invest time in fictional stories. They were equally perplexed by sports, art, and even the concept of humor. One evening, Chen found Zarthol alone in the observation lounge, staring out at the stars streaking by. "Is everything all right, Zarthol?" she asked, joining the alien at the window. "I am processing, Captain Chen," Zarthol replied, its voice tinged with an emotion Chen couldn't quite identify. "Your species is far more complex than we initially believed. These emotions, these intangible experiences you value so highly, they are alien to us, yet they seem to be the very essence of your existence." Chen nodded, understanding the enormity of the cultural gap they were trying to bridge. Emotions can be challenging, even for us, she admitted. They can lead to conflict, to pain. But they also drive us to great achievements, to form deep connections with others. They make life rich and meaningful. Zarfal was silent for a long moment, its form shimmering slightly. Captain, it finally said, I believe I am experiencing something unfamiliar. A sort of longing. Is this what you call curiosity? Chen smiled warmly. I believe it is, Zarfal, and in my experience, curiosity is the first step towards understanding. As Earth grew larger in the viewscreen, Chen realized that this mission was about far more than a simple cultural exchange or technological trade. They were on the brink of a profound meeting of minds, one that could reshape both their societies in ways they couldn't yet imagine. The real challenge, she knew, was just beginning. How would Earth react to these beings so different from themselves? And how would the Zephyrians, with their logical, emotionless culture, adapt to the chaotic, vibrant tapestry of human society? As the horizon prepared for atmospheric entry, Chen took a deep breath. Whatever happened next, she was determined to bridge the gap between their species, to find common ground in the vast differences that separated them. The future of interstellar relations, and perhaps the future of both their species, depended on it. The arrival of the Zephyrian delegation on Earth marked a pivotal moment in human history. As the horizon touched down at the newly constructed Interstellar Diplomatic Center in Geneva, Captain Ilara Chen felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She would be the bridge between two vastly different species, tasked with fostering understanding and cooperation. The world's media swarmed around the landing site, eager for a glimpse of humanity's first alien visitors. As Zarfal and its fellow Zephyrians emerged from the ship, a hush fell over the crowd. The aliens' ethereal beauty and otherworldly presence left even the most jaded reporters speechless. Dr. Aidan O'Connor, Earth's chief diplomat for extraterrestrial affairs, stepped forward to greet the visitors. On behalf of the people of Earth, welcome, he said, his Irish lilt adding warmth to the formal words. We are honored by your presence and look forward to a fruitful exchange between our peoples. Zarfal inclined its head, its cosmic eyes sweeping over the assembled humans. We thank you for your welcome, Dr. O'Connor. We come in the spirit of mutual discovery and hope our time here will be enlightening for both our species. As the formal greetings concluded, Chen couldn't help but notice the subtle shifts in Zarfal's liquid metal form. Was it possible that the Zephyrian was experiencing nervousness? The thought was both surprising and oddly comforting. The following weeks were a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings, cultural exchanges, and scientific discussions. The Zephyrians, true to their word, began sharing the principles of their faster-than-light technology. Human scientists were ecstatic, even as they grappled with concepts that seemed to defy the laws of physics as they understood them. In return, humans did their best to introduce the Zephyrians to the full spectrum of human experience. Art galleries, concert halls, and even sports stadiums became stages for this interstellar cultural exchange. It was during one such outing, a visit to the Louvre in Paris, that Chen witnessed a breakthrough. As they stood before Van Gogh's Starry Night, she noticed Zarfal's form rippling more intensely than usual. This imagery, Zarfal said, its voice filled with an emotion Chen had never heard from it before. It evokes something, a sensation I cannot name. The swirling patterns, the intensity of the colors, they resonate within me in a way I do not understand. Chen smiled gently. That's the power of art, Zarfal. It speaks to something beyond logic, beyond words. What you're feeling, it might be awe or wonder, or a mix of emotions we don't even have names for. For the first time since their meeting, Chen saw what could only be described as a smile flicker across Zarfal's features. Fascinating, it murmured. Perhaps there is more to these emotions than we initially believed. As the diplomatic meetings continued, Chen noticed a gradual shift in the Zephyrians' behavior. They began to ask more questions about human relationships, about love, friendship, and family bonds. They seemed particularly intrigued by the concept of romantic love, a notion entirely foreign to their species. One evening during a state dinner, Dr. O'Connor's wife, Sophia, a renowned psychologist, engaged Zarfal in a deep discussion about human pair bonding. "But how do you choose a mate without logical criteria?" Zarfal asked, genuinely puzzled. "How can you base such an important decision on something as intangible as feelings?" Sophia laughed warmly. "Oh, believe me, we often ask ourselves the same question. But love isn't about logic. It's about connection, about finding someone who compliments you, challenges you, makes you want to be a better version of yourself." As Chen watched the exchange, she noticed Dr. O'Connor gazing at his wife with unmistakable affection. Zarfal followed her gaze, its cosmic eyes widening slightly as it observed the non-verbal communication between the couple. "This, love," Zarfal said slowly. "It seems to be a powerful force in your society, yet it also appears to be a source of great vulnerability. Is it not dangerous to allow oneself to be so influenced by another?" "Absolutely," Chen interjected, smiling. "Love can be terrifying. It can hurt us, change us. But it can also heal us, inspire us to greatness. Many of humanity's greatest achievements have been driven by love in one form or another." As the evening wore on, Chen found herself in a quiet corner with Zarfal. The Zephyrian seemed deep in thought, its form shimmering with an intensity she hadn't seen before. "Captain Chen," it said finally, "I find myself experiencing unfamiliar sensations. A warmth when in the company of certain humans, a desire to understand more, to connect. Is this normal?" Chen felt a surge of emotion, hope, excitement, and a touch of apprehension. "It's very normal, Zarfal. In fact, I'd say it's a sign that our two species aren't as different as we might have thought." As they stood there, human and alien, Chen realized that they were on the brink of something momentous. The Zephyrians were beginning to understand emotion, to feel it themselves. And with that understanding came the potential for deeper connection, for true empathy between their species. But it also brought risk. How would the Zephyrian society, built on logic and efficiency, handle this newfound emotionality? And how would humanity react to a race of beings learning to navigate the complex world of feelings? As the stars twinkled in the night sky above them, Chen knew that the real challenges and the real opportunities were just beginning. The dance between their species was evolving, becoming more complex, more intimate, and she, Elara Chen, was at the heart of it all, a bridge between worlds, guiding them towards an uncertain but thrilling future. As the weeks turned into months, the relationship between humans and Zephyrians deepened in ways few had anticipated. The exchange of scientific knowledge continued at a rapid pace, with human scientists making leaps in understanding faster than light travel, while the Zephyrians began to grasp the intricacies of human biology and psychology. But it was the personal relationships forming between individuals of both species that truly captured the world's attention, none more so than the growing bond between Captain Elara Chen and Zarfal. Their friendship had blossomed naturally, born from countless hours of cultural exchange and deep conversations. Chen found herself drawn to Zarfal's insatiable curiosity and newfound emotional depth, while Zarfal seemed fascinated by Chen's blend of logic and emotion, duty and compassion. One crisp autumn evening, they walked together through Central Park in New York City. The trees were ablaze with red and gold, a sight that left Zarfal mesmerized. The impermanence of it all, Zarfal mused, its form shimmering with what Chen now recognized as excitement. It's beautiful precisely because it's fleeting. I think I understand now, Elara. Chen smiled, warmed by Zarfal's use of her first name, a recent development that felt significant. That's part of what makes life on Earth so vibrant, Zarfal. We're acutely aware of the passing of time, the changing of seasons. It makes us appreciate the moments we have. As they walked, their hands brushed against each other. Chen felt a jolt of electricity at the contact, and to her surprise, she saw Zarfal's form ripple intensely. "Elara," Zarfal said, its voice uncharacteristically hesitant, "I believe I am experiencing feelings for you. Is this what humans call attraction?" Chen's heart raced. She had been grappling with her own growing feelings for Zarfal, but had dismissed them as impossible, impractical. Yet here they were, standing on the precipice of something unprecedented. I think it might be, Zarfal, she replied softly. I've been feeling something similar, but this is uncharted territory for both our species. Before either could say more, Chen's communicator buzzed urgently. It was Dr. O'Connor, his voice tense. Captain Chen, we need you and Zarfal at the diplomatic center immediately. There's been a development. At the center, they found a scene of barely contained chaos. On the main screen was the stern face of Thorvax, the leader of the Zephyrian collective. Emissary Zarfal, Thorvax's telepathic voice resonated with disapproval. The collective is concerned about the reports we've been receiving. You and your team appear to be deviating from your mission parameters. These humans are influencing you in ways we did not anticipate. Zarfal stepped forward, its form pulsing with what Chen now recognized as a mix of defiance and anxiety. Respected Thorvax, I assure you our mission to understand humanity is proceeding as planned. We are simply immersing ourselves in their culture to gain deeper insights. Thorvax's cosmic eyes narrowed. Your latest neurological scans show significant changes, Zarfal. You are experiencing emotions. This was not part of the plan. It poses a risk to our entire society. The implications hung heavy in the air. The Zephyrians, it seemed, viewed emotions as a threat, a potential contaminant to their logical, ordered society. Dr. O'Connor attempted to intervene. Surely, Thorvax, this development could lead to greater understanding between our species. Emotions are an integral part of the human experience. If the Zephyrians can understand them, it could revolutionize our relationship. But Thorvax was unmoved. This exchange has gone too far. Zarfal, you and your team are to return to the collective immediately. We must assess the extent of this contamination and decide how to proceed. As the transmission ended, a heavy silence fell over the room. Chen looked at Zarfal, seeing a turmoil in its cosmic eyes that mirrored her own feelings. I cannot go back, Zarfal said quietly, its voice filled with emotion Chen had never heard from it before, fear. Not like this. Not now that I've felt so much. Chen reached out, taking Zarfal's hand in hers. The contact sent a wave of warmth through her, and she saw Zarfal's form ripple in response. We'll figure this out, she said firmly, together. Dr. O'Connor cleared his throat, his expression grave. This is unprecedented. If the Zephyrians view emotions as a threat, it could jeopardize everything we've built. But if Zarfal and the others stay, it could be seen as an act of defection, possibly even an act of war. The weight of the situation settled over them all. What had begun as a mission of discovery and exchange had become something far more complex, far more personal. The fledgling relationship between humans and Zephyrians now stood on a knife's edge. As Chen looked around the room, at the worried faces of both humans and Zephyrians, she knew that they were about to enter uncharted territory. The choices they made in the coming days would not only affect their personal lives, but could reshape the future of both their species and potentially the entire galaxy. With her hand still clasped in Zarfal's, Chen took a deep breath. Whatever came next, she knew one thing for certain: she wasn't letting go. The connection they had forged, the understanding they had built, was too precious to abandon. Even if it meant challenging the very foundations of Zephyrian society and risking interstellar conflict, they would face it together. The true test of their newfound emotions and the strength of the bond between their species was about to begin. The days following Thorvax's ultimatum were tense. The Zephyrian ship that had brought the delegation to Earth now loomed in orbit, a silent reminder of the brewing conflict. On the ground, governments worldwide were in uproar, debating the implications of harboring what some now termed emotional refugees from the Zephyrian collective. Captain Elara Chen found herself at the center of a diplomatic and personal storm. Her feelings for Zarfal had become impossible to ignore, Yet her duty to Earth and the principles of peaceful first contact weighed heavily on her conscience. In a secure conference room at the United Nations, Chen sat beside Zafal as world leaders and military commanders debated their next move. "We cannot simply hand them over," argued the Secretary General. "These Zephyrians have formed bonds here. They're experiencing emotions. Sending them back could be tantamount to persecution." "But can we risk interstellar war over this?" countered the Chinese representative. "The Zephyrians clearly have technology far beyond ours. If they see this as kidnapping or corruption of their people, the consequences could be devastating." Throughout the heated discussion, Chen felt Zafal's hand in hers, a gesture that had become both comfort and catalyst for their shared dilemma. Finally, Chen stood, her voice cutting through the clamor. "With all due respect, we're missing the larger picture here. This isn't just about political asylum or preventing war. We're witnessing the birth of something unprecedented, a true melding of our cultures. The Zephyrians are learning to feel, to connect emotionally. And in doing so, they're teaching us to see the universe in new ways." She turned to Zafal, drawing strength from the swirling galaxies in its eyes. "If we force them to return, we're not just risking their well-being. We're shutting the door on a future where our species could truly understand each other, could grow together in ways we can't even imagine yet." Zafal stood as well, its form shimmering with determination. "I speak for myself and my fellow Zephyrians when I say we choose to stay. We understand the risk, both to ourselves and to Earth. But we believe the potential benefits far outweigh those risks. We have seen the power of human emotion, of connection. We believe it could transform our society for the better." The room fell silent, the weight of the moment palpable. It was Dr. O'Connor who finally broke the silence. "Then we need a plan, not just to protect Earth, but to open a dialogue with the Zephyrian collective, to help them understand what's happening here isn't a threat, but an opportunity." As the meeting adjourned, Chen and Zafal found themselves alone in the room. The tension of the past days, the uncertainty of their future, seemed to crystallize in that moment. "Elara," Zafal said softly, its voice filled with an emotion that still seemed new and wondrous. "I need you to understand. What I feel for you, what I've learned here on Earth, it's worth any risk. You've awakened something in me, in all of us, that I never knew was missing." Chen felt tears prick her eyes, a surge of emotion overwhelming her usual composure. "Zafal, She paused, gathering her thoughts. "I never imagined I'd find this kind of connection, especially not with someone from another world. But I'm terrified, not just of what might happen to Earth, but of losing you." Their faces drew closer, the attraction between them magnetic. Just as their lips were about to meet in what would have been a historic first kiss between their species, alarms blared throughout the building. They rushed to the command center, where chaos reigned. On the main screen, they saw the Zephyrian ship descending from orbit, bypassing all attempts at communication. "They're heading straight for us," a technician reported, his voice strained. "Our defenses are useless against their technology." Chen felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. This was it, the moment that could spark an interstellar war. She turned to Zafal, seeing her own fear reflected in its cosmic eyes. "We need to face them," Zafal said, its voice firm despite the tremor in its form. "Together, it's the only way to prevent this from escalating." Chen nodded, squaring her shoulders. "Agreed. If we can make them understand, really understand what's happening here, maybe we can avoid conflict." As they stepped outside the building, the Zephyrian ship loomed above, its crystalline structure casting prismatic light across the landscape. A beam of energy shot down, and within it materialized Sorvax, flanked by what appeared to be Zephyrian security forces. Emissary Zafal, Sorvax's mental voice boomed, tinged with what could only be described as anger, an emotion that should have been foreign to the Zephyrian leader. "You have defied the collective. You have allowed yourself to be corrupted by these humans. We are here to correct this error and prevent further contamination. Chen stepped forward, her hand intertwined with Zarthol's. "Supreme Leader Xorvax," she called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "We ask you to listen, to observe. What's happening here isn't corruption. It's growth, it's understanding. It's the next step in both our species' evolution." Xorvax's cosmic eyes narrowed, focusing on their joined hands. This connection, it defies logic. It serves no practical purpose. It is a weakness that could destroy everything we have built. "No," Zarthol countered, its voice filled with a passion that seemed to surprise even Xorvax. "It is strength. These emotions, this capacity for love and empathy, they don't make us weak. They make us stronger. They drive us to achieve more, to be more than we ever thought possible." As if to emphasize the point, Chen and Zarthol's joined hands began to glow, a soft light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with their shared emotions. The light spread, enveloping them both in a cocoon of radiant energy. Xorvax and the other Zephyrians recoiled, but their expressions showed more confusion than fear. What is this?" Xorvax demanded. Chen smiled, feeling a warmth and certainty she had never known before. "This is the power of connection, Xorvax. This is what happens when two species come together not in conflict, but in understanding and love." The light continued to grow, bathing the area in its warm glow. And as it did, something remarkable began to happen. The rigid forms of Xorvax and the other Zephyrians began to shimmer and shift, as if awakening to something long dormant within them. In that moment, as human and Zephyrian stood united, it became clear that the true revolution wasn't just in faster-than-light travel or advanced technology. It was in the power of empathy, of emotional connection, a force that could bridge the vast distances between stars and hearts alike. The fate of both their species, and perhaps the galaxy itself, hung in the balance. But as Chen looked into Zarthol's eyes, she knew that whatever came next, they would face it together, a union of logic and emotion, of duty and love, that held the potential to reshape the cosmos itself. The radiant energy emanating from Chen and Zarthol's joined hands continued to expand, enveloping Xorvax and the other Zephyrians in its warm glow. As the light touched them, their rigid forms began to soften, their cosmic eyes widening with a new awareness. Xorvax stumbled, overwhelmed by the rush of unfamiliar sensations. What is happening to us?" The Zephyrian leader's mental voice wavered, tinged with fear and wonder in equal measure. Chen stepped forward, her voice gentle but firm. "You're feeling, Xorvax. For perhaps the first time in your species' history, you're experiencing emotions in their full intensity." Zarthol moved to stand beside its leader, its form rippling with empathy. "It's overwhelming at first, isn't it? But give it time. These feelings, they're not a weakness. They're a new way of understanding the universe, of connecting with others." As the initial shock wore off, the gathered humans and Zephyrians watched in awe as Xorvax's form began to shift and change. The once rigid lines softened, and a kaleidoscope of colors rippled across its surface, reflecting the tumult of emotions within. I understand now," Xorvax said, its mental voice filled with a newfound warmth. "This is what you've been trying to show us. This connection, these emotions, they're not a threat to our way of life. They're an evolution of it." Dr. O'Connor stepped forward, his eyes shining with excitement. "This is unprecedented. Your species' ability to adapt, to embrace such a fundamental change, it's remarkable." As the tension of the moment dissipated, humans and Zephyrians began to mingle, the barriers between them seeming to dissolve in the wake of this shared experience. Scientists from both species huddled together, eagerly discussing the implications of what had just occurred. In the midst of it all, Chen turned to Zarthol, her heart full of emotion. "We did it," she said softly. "We found a way to bridge the gap between our species." Zarthol's form shimmered with joy. "No, Elara, you did it. Your humanity, your capacity for love and understanding, it showed us a new way forward." As they stood there, surrounded by the birth of a new era of interspecies cooperation, Chen and Zarfol's lips finally met in a kiss that seemed to symbolize the union of their two worlds. In the days and weeks that followed, the impact of what became known as the empathy event rippled across both Earth and the Zephyrian collective. The Zephyrians, led by a transformed Thorvax, began to integrate emotions into their society, finding new ways to balance their logical nature with their newfound capacity for feeling. Humans, in turn, learned from the Zephyrians' measured approach to emotion, finding ways to temper their sometimes volatile feelings with logic and reason. The exchange of knowledge and culture flourished, leading to advancements in science, art, and philosophy that neither species could have achieved alone. As for Chen and Zarfol, they became symbols of this new era of cooperation. Their relationship, once seen as impossible, now stood as a beacon of hope for what could be achieved when different species came together in understanding and love. 5 years after the empathy event, Chen stood on the bridge of a new ship, the Starship Harmony, a joint human-Zephyrian venture. As captain, she led a diverse crew of both species on missions of exploration and diplomacy throughout the galaxy. Beside her stood Zarfol, now serving as the ship's chief science officer and diplomatic liaison. Their hands were intertwined, a gesture that had become second nature to them both. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Wong from her station. "We're receiving a transmission from an unknown species in the Andromeda Galaxy. They're requesting first contact." Chen and Zarfol exchanged a look, their eyes filled with excitement and determination. This was why they had worked so hard, why they had risked everything to bring their species together. To explore the universe not as separate entities, but as a united force of logic and emotion, of science and empathy. "Open a channel," Chen ordered, squeezing Zarfol's hand. "Let's show them what humanity and Zephyrians can accomplish together." As the view screen flickered to life, revealing a new alien species waiting to make contact, Chen felt a surge of hope. The journey that had begun with confusion and conflict had led them here, to a future bright with possibility, where the strengths of different species could combine to create something greater than the sum of its parts. In that moment, as human and Zephyrian stood side by side, ready to face the unknown together, it was clear that they had indeed ushered in a new galactic era. An era of unity in diversity, of exploration driven by both curiosity and compassion, of a universe made richer by the connections forged between vastly different beings. And as the Harmony moved forward to greet this new species, Chen knew that this was just the beginning. The true adventure, for her, for Zarfol, for both their species, and for the galaxy at large, was only just beginning.